Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning in to The Ordinary Filmmaker. Subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any news, rumors, gear reviews, or tutorials. And to make things just a little bit more interesting, I'm giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below, or you can watch this video here or over here. I'm not sure which corner I'm going to put it in yet. It's pretty cold outside, and from where I'm sitting, I can't see the LCD. Anyhow, please look at the terms and conditions, as there are some age and location restrictions. And now, for the news. So I put out a lot of videos this week, but essentially there's one overriding news item that's taken control of everything. And that's steak sauce. What? Steak sauce? Okay, that's my nickname for the new Sony Alpha A1, because in the United States they have a steak sauce called A1. A1 steak sauce. I'm not kidding you on this one. Now, for the rest of the world, you might be familiar with HP sauce, Houses of Parliament. We put that on different types of meats. Anyhow, that's my nickname for the A1. But the A1 is Sony's new flagship mirrorless camera, and it's stunning. It's got a lot of amazing features. And one of the reasons why Sony was able to keep this a complete secret right up until the announcement pretty well is because they didn't even put this in the hands of professionals. So we don't have a lot of real-life tests right now. We have a lot of specifications, and it looks amazing. It can do 8K video, but it can do 8.6K oversampled 8K video. And 4K video is 5.6K oversampled. And I put out a couple of videos, and one of the videos I compared it to the R5, which I thought was rather strange since it's a level beneath it. I think the real comparison is going to be when Canon and Nikon release their flagship mirrorless cameras. What looks to be happening on these stills hybrid cameras, these fast action sports cameras, is that 8K is now becoming a standard. Now, we'll have to wait to see what Nikon and Canon release to see if that bit of conjecture or hypothesis is actually validated. And also, forgive me, because I'm outside today, it's minus 14 degrees right now. I know that my lips are already starting to freeze up, so bear with me as I mumble through my words. Okay, let's get back to the news. So the A1, I'm closely watching this. We really do need to see the specifications. I do think it's a terrific camera. I would love to get my hands on this. I would love to visit Sony and just play around with this camera. And once I'm able to, I will let you guys know more. But I'm very excited by it. I think it's an exciting camera. Now, some people don't like it, and they say, oh, the Canon will crush it or Nikon will crush it. That's not me. I can't remember who said this, but somebody commented on my channel just, I think it was a few days ago, saying that, you know what, the best professional camera is whatever's in the professional photographer's bag, because a professional knows how to use the tools that he has. And so this is a professional grade camera. It's not cheap. It's $6,500, but you know, it's exciting. It's the first bit of exciting news we got this year. We've got a lot more to come. Sony actually has 5 cameras registered right now, and that doesn't include the A1, so we've got 5 more cameras coming in this year. So that's really, really exciting stuff. And we would expect, once they're registered, you generally see them within 1 to 3 months. So that's really exciting news. And now for our first question. Gerald asks, for a filmmaker, which would you recommend, the Sony A7S III or the A1, assuming 8K isn't something that is vital? Okay, well, you said one very important thing right there. 8K isn't vital. The difference in price between these cameras is about $3,000. I think the A7S III is a terrific camera. You don't have any overheating issues, so there's no reason to go to the A1 steak sauce for that. If it was me, I'm looking at these two cameras. Sure, you always want the best, and if somebody gave me the money, I might just buy the A1 because it's better, right? But for the price, for the value, I would go with the A7S III. It's got 4K 30. It's got very high detailed 4K 30. It can do 4K 60. It's a very, very powerful camera, and there's really many more questions I should be able to ask you, and hopefully the wind isn't too bad here. It wasn't windy when I first started, and it wasn't cloudy, and now it's starting to cloud up, and these are some of the problems with filming outside. Anyhow, let's get back to the discussion. As always, I'd say identify the capabilities you need in a camera, but looking at the video capabilities between the two cameras, I think you'd be perfectly fine with the Sony A7S III. Unorthodox asks, when do you think Canon will release the EOS R Mark II? Do you think they'll wait for Sony to release the A7 IV? I don't believe Sony, Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, any of these companies are waiting to see what the other companies are planning before they release cameras. Now, sometimes when a company releases something, you might choose to hold back a little bit. But Canon doesn't seem to be that company, and Canon, for all intents and purposes, is the leader in the space. They have 45.4% market share. Second place is by Sony and Nikon, around 18 to 22%. So that by itself tells you they are the leader. They're not waiting for anybody else. They're charting their own course. So in terms of when we're going to see the EOS R Mark II, well, in a way, it's already out there in the EOS R6. But Canon's also coming out with 2 entry-level R system cameras. And one of those is going to be a really cheap one. It's designed to really replace the EOS RP, and it's going to be around $899 at the most. Then there's going to be another camera priced between the current EOS R and the R6, and it's going to be mid-capable as well. So I expect that camera probably within the next 3 months. So if you're interested in EOS R Mark II, wait to see what else Canon comes out with in entry level. Again, COVID is really affecting how everything's going on. It's affecting the supply chain. So we really don't know if it's going to happen in 3 months. Things could happen, things could get pushed. We know that the Olympics are happening now. It has been confirmed. So obviously all the companies want to have their flagship cameras out in time for the Olympics, which is right around July. So normally I'm much better with dates and times, but right now everything's kind of up in the air. But the initial schedule was to have those 2 entry-level EOS R system cameras out within the first 3 months of this year, or at least announced within the first 3 months of this year. Lady Lincoln asks, if you don't do a firmware update and a new one comes out, do you have to download the one you missed before doing the newest update? In most situations, no, you don't. They're cumulative updates. So even if you've missed 3 or 4 of them, download the latest firmware update and apply it, with one big caveat. Every time you go to download some firmware, there's some README notes. Look at those, because it'll tell you if you need to do that or not. You don't want to risk bricking your camera, and generally these things are foolproof, but you don't want to take a chance. Always read the notes. Michael asks, what do you think about the Canon EOS RA? Well, if you're really serious about doing astrophotography, I mean, this is something you do 80% of the time, get it. It's a good camera. It helps you get better lighting. It helps you capture the celestial bodies and stars so much better. But if you're like me and you're doing a lot of different stuff, I really don't see the purpose to it if you've already got a camera. Like if you've got the R5, if you've got the 5D Mark IV or the EOS R, I don't really see that you're going to get a huge amount of benefit by switching to the RA, unless of course, you know, this is something you want to make as your full-time job. If you're looking at buying a new camera, then getting one of these cameras like the RA, an astro camera where the sensor is actually designed for the light, it's a good thing, and they'll still work and function as normal cameras as well. But simply upgrading, if you've already got a camera, to one of those, I don't think you're going to see a huge difference. If you're really good at what you're doing, yes, you can get that extra out of it. But if you're kind of amateurish, like me, then, you know, perfect your skills before you worry about getting the RA. Cam McKay is responding to something I said in last week's Q&A. Use your histogram. There's no pro video shooter using a little light meter bar to land exposure. That's why we have exposure tools. As your channel grows, your responsibility to give accurate information grows. And he's right. I apologize. I didn't give you the full picture. And somebody once taught me that if you don't give all the information, you're not completely telling the truth. So one thing I'm going to say first and foremost, when you're trying to expose video, when you're trying to make sure everything's exposed properly, the histogram is not the right tool. It's a terrible tool. All the histogram does is it's a statistical tool. And on one side, it shows you, well, it shows you the light ranging from 0 all the way up to 256. It's got 256 data points. Now, nowhere in there does it help you determine the exposure or middle gray. So for example, I'm shooting in log right now. How does a histogram properly show you the values of log? Because it exceeds that 100 mark. And what if I've got a high contrast or low contrast scene, or low key or high key scene? The histogram might show that everything's bunched up to the end, and logic would say, well, I need to move it along. Well, no, you don't do that with low key or high key scenes, right? And here's another indication that the histogram is not meant for video. As soon as you press record, it disappears. There are better tools for metering your scene. Now, part of what I've said in the past is the R5 doesn't meter very well. It uses evaluative. There's no internal spot meter tool, and a spot meter tool is very useful because you can drag a point right over the subject or what it is you're trying to meter, and you're going to get a much better result. It's not the best tool out there, but most stills hybrid cameras have this, and it allows you to meter your subject much better, and that's very, very important. Histogram, it's terrible. Now, one thing I did say in the previous video is about using a light meter tool with a spot meter on it. There are an awful lot of cinematographers and professionals that will have a light meter with a spot meter, and they do use that. But there are much better tools. So for one, zebras. I'm using them right now, and guess what? While the camera's running, while we're recording, zebras are still present. The only problem with zebras is they limit you to a couple of data points. Now with this camera, the EOS R5, what it gives me is a couple of options. I can set the IRE or light level to 75 or 70% or 70, which is what I have right now, and it allows you to set a secondary one, which I've set to I think 35 or 45. And this allows you to see where you're starting to get overexposed. So for this scene right now, this area before I started recording was hitting that 70 mark as here, and parts of my face, not all of my face, and that's kind of what you want. But there are better tools, such as false color. And last week somebody asked me, do I use false color? And I don't. And there's a good reason why, because there's an even better tool than that. But what false color does is it gives you a very psychedelic look. If you've ever seen psychedelic t-shirts where you've got these rainbow colors all over the place, that's what it does. It converts everything you're seeing through that monitor or through your LCD into a spectrum of colors. So you can see, different colors will represent 80%, 90%, 70%, 60%, all the way down, so you can tell where your middle grays are. You can visually see how your scene is exposed, and that's a terrific tool. But the reason I don't use that is there's an even better tool, and if you're using an external recorder or external monitor, that's waveforms and vector scopes. This is by far the best tool, and if you're not using this tool, use it. If you're still using histograms, look, I get it, it can work, but you know what? You can drive around for years and decades without getting into an accident if you don't wear a seatbelt. But that one time you have an accident, it's probably not going to go all that well for you. And it's the same with video. You can use a histogram and you can get the results correct most of the times, but professionals are using better tools. They're using false colors, they're using waveforms and vector scopes. And just think about this. When you're editing, when you're color grading, when you're color balancing, what tools are you using? RGB parade, vector scopes, waveforms, right? So why not use them to properly expose? And here's a situation. Let's say you've got a subject and you've got a lot of grays around that subject. Then how do you know if you're properly exposing? A histogram doesn't help separate that information, and I think it is a terrible tool, and I will stand by that. And if you're ready to write a comment saying, no, Simon, I've been using histograms for a long time, they do work, I'm not saying you can't get good results, but I'm saying it's kind of like playing with dynamite. If you're not careful with how you handle it, it's going to go off, and it's going to destroy whatever's close to it. There are better tools. Zebras are better than histograms. I highly recommend using them. False colors. And this was a justification for when I said, we were talking about overheating with the R5, and I said get an external monitor, and people were saying, Simon, are you telling me I spend $4,000 on a camera and I have to spend another $1,000 to fix the overheating? No, that $1,000 gives you the ability to record unlimited, regardless of battery, regardless of preset record limits, and it helps overcome those overheat limits. Plus, it gives you ProRes 432, ProRes RAW, Avid codecs, so you can have the codec you need ready to edit, so you don't have any transfer speeds, you can edit right off the card. And second, you've got terrific exposure tools such as false color, such as waveforms and vector scopes. So that is the primary reason why I think spending $1,000 on an external recorder or monitor is much better than fiddling around with histograms and dealing with overheat issues and transfer speeds and all that sort of stuff. So I've gone off on a tangent in a little bit, but to give you the full picture of better answering this question. If you're still confused, post some comments in the comment section down below, because there is an awful lot to this. I could spend 60 minutes just talking about waveforms and vector scopes, false colors, and all this stuff. But yeah, no, it was a good comment, and I think that was fair, because sometimes while I'm out here, I don't have any notes here. I'm just going off my memory, and sometimes I forget things, and especially when it's like minus 13 now, it's warming up. I'm cold, and I'm thinking about many things other than just what I'm saying. Robert says, Simon, you should switch to Sony. No limitations, and third-party lenses are wonderful. Okay, first of all, I got to tell you something, Robert. You're wrong. There's no such thing as a camera that doesn't have limitations. One, it's a stills hybrid camera. the FX9 and FX6 will provide more capabilities, better capabilities that are designed for video, more than the A7S III. So I agree that Sony makes terrific cameras, and I've been trying to get an A7S III in here for a long time. I really want to buy one, but my revenue has fallen off significantly since the summer. But I do want a Sony. I want to get one in here. I think they're terrific cameras, and the A7S III I think is great value for what it does. But it doesn't mean it's better. Remember, the thing I keep trying to teach all my viewers is you want to have a capability-based discussion. Identify the capabilities you want in a camera, and then purchase a camera accordingly. And the Sony A7S III, despite how great it is in video, is rather lacking in photos, and I still want that capability. Now, in terms of third-party lenses, well, you can get third-party lenses for the Canon R system. You can get Samyang, for example. There are lenses out, and plus you've got that EF to RF adapter, so that opens up a whole universe of lenses. So I get your passion for Sony. I understand your passion for Sony. Don't lose that passion, but channel it into ways that helps you generate better content. Because as a previous person said, the best professional camera is whatever's in the professional photographer or videographer's bag, because a professional can pull incredible results even out of an iPhone, let alone a modern, brand new, powerful camera. Stop the FOMO asks, as exciting as the Sony A1 appears, how would it improve your specific use case, if at all costs aside? Well, I can't really answer that question right now because I haven't seen the actual results. I want to see how the actual results are. I have no need to do 8K anytime soon, but if I did, having 8.6K oversampled 8K video, that's powerful. On the 4K side, I shoot an awful lot of 4K, and I think the EOS R5 is better because it does 8K oversampled 4K, giving me more detail. But one thing I think that the A1 is, I'm really curious. I'm going to assume that it has a spot metering mode. And if it has a spot metering mode, that would make the A1 better, but I'm pretty sure that the Sony A7S III would have that too. If you own a Sony A7S III, let me know in the comment section below, does it have a spot metering tool in video mode? That's the biggest issue I have with the Canon EOS R5 is its metering system is based on evaluative, so I don't really know what's going on behind me right now because the sun is moving and changing. And I can see approximately being 6 feet away based on the LCD that around my cheeks and my face have hit the IRE 70 level, but I don't know if they've gone to 80, 90, or beyond. I did do some sample shots. I took it inside and tested it out, but that's the problem with Zebra is they don't let you see how the levels change, and that's why I think false colors would be even better from this distance because I could get a better look. So something like the Ninja 5 would work really, really good in the situation with a much bigger monitor. But I would love to have the A1 here, but I probably think for me and my channel, for my capability needs, that the Sony A7S III, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I certainly think that the Sony A7S III would probably be better for me than the A1 just because of the extra, $3,000 I'd have to spend. Topic Ruben asks, which shotgun microphone do you recommend? Would you consider the Sennheiser MK600? Thanks. I would consider the Sennheiser MK600. It depends on your scenario. So for what I'm doing, I have a YouTube channel, as you can tell, and I'm trying to grow this and I want to produce the best possible sounds that I can. But I'm actually using a Tascam DR10L right now. I should have put the little windsock on it because there is a little bit of wind, but I'm hoping that it's going to come across pretty good. Words speak me not. My mouth is freezing up already. So the Tascam DR10L, I use it most of the time for my YouTube content. And actually for a lot of my run and gun, I use it as well. I'll mic up my son. I got a couple of these things, and especially when he's running or moving off in the distance, the audio level is perfect every time. And when you first start using that for a moving subject, it's staggering how, oh my God, the audio's perfect every time. I do use shotgun mics. I use the Sennheiser MKE 400. It's terrific, especially when it's windy. It's got a wind filter that really reduces the wind. It makes things a little bit tinny, but you're able to get audio that is usable. Now, with the windsock on it, without the wind filter on, it still does a good job. It'll capture the wind, but the wind sounds like wind. It doesn't sound like fingernails on a chalkboard. So it really depends on what you're doing. If it's a lot of, like what I'm doing, a lot of family event type stuff, then, you know, stuff like the MKE 400 can probably do you very well. I've seen people use it for professional results and produce really good outcomes. The 600, you're getting a little bit higher up there and it can still do a good job. The question is, do you want the best? And your answer should be no, because Here's the thing, people say this to me all the time, do you want the best for your child? And my answer is, no, I don't, because I can't afford the best. But they always say, do you want the best? Because I'm going to sell you the best. And the answer is, you don't want the best. You want what is going to meet the expectations of what you want to deliver and the outcomes. So always focus on that. So depending on your needs, the 600 might work, but you might be able to save some money and get the MKE 400, which is, I think, about $220. Although if you have a Sony, take a look at the one they have that fits in the hot shoe. There's no cables, there's no batteries. I really like that microphone. I wish it would work for Canon. I wish Canon would come up with something like that, because I think that is terrific. The filtering and everything it has on it, just terrific. Di says, when I shoot 8K RAW on the Canon R5, I set the ISO to 400 since it has the most dynamic range in that ISO setting. If I shoot in other modes like 1080, 4K, and 8-bit or 10-bit, would 400 also yield the most dynamic range? And do you think lower ISO will be better at reducing noise on the EOS R5? Yeah, so when you're shooting video, I really think it's a good idea to set your ISO to 400. It does give you more dynamic range, whether you're doing log or not, and it's more amplified if you're shooting log. And I'm shooting at ISO right now, ISO 400 right now with log, because of just look at what I'm shooting in. I'm covered with snow, and any bit of light on snow, it's going to get overexposed. And I can tell just from looking in the LCD right now, things are getting overexposed in the snow area. And I have no idea if things have blown away so badly that I can't use this. But the reason why I'm shooting outside is really for setting things up for a future video, because my toes are cold right now. I've got boots set for -40, but when you're sitting still in the cold like this and you're not moving, frostbite is a very real possibility. So within 20 minutes, I need to be inside, because I'm going to have some problems. So yeah, I definitely think 400 is where you should be at. It's going to give you more dynamic range, but it matters more when you're shooting with C-Log. But the best thing to do is, try it out, see for yourself. The noise level you're going to get at ISO 400, don't worry about it, especially with some of these modern cameras. It's truly amazing what you can shoot at. In fact, I've shot the same scene at night in C-Log, and with no minimum ISO of 400, and it's amazing how good the results were. Especially, and I shot Halloween with my son. Now, unfortunately, I left the UV zero filter on, so you can see how that looks, but the LED lights around this garden here, that's what I used to light that scene, and you can see how well the lighting picks up. So you got to kind of ask yourself, where are you shooting? What settings do I need to use? What settings would be optimal? And sometimes, yes, listen to people like myself online, but you got to go out, you got to test it out, you got to try it out yourself, because what works for some people with their gear doesn't necessarily work with everybody else. Just like these histograms, depending on what camera you have, they all are different. Some of them don't even report the information properly. So you got to test it out, try it out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. But yeah, my minimum ISO I do set is ISO 400, and I'm trying to shoot in C-Log more and more. Although some people will say, you know what, only shoot in C-Log if you have to, if you're in a high contrast scene. But I'm on a mission that I'm going to shoot C-Log for as much of this year as I can, because I'm experimenting, I'm trying things out. The R5 is new to me, C-Log is new to me, and I don't want to just take people's advice. I want to know what the industry best practices are, what the standards are. Well, there's no standards, there's industry best practices, what you should do. And then I want to bump up against them and see where things break, because that's where I think the learning experience happens. But definitely listen to the experience of others. Throughout my life, I hate wasting time. I hate spending 10 hours to solve something. If somebody's already solved it, how do they solve it? Try it out and then play around with it. Don't just, as I say before, beat your head against the wall. And if you are going to beat your head against the wall, get a small lime, lemon, or other citrus fruit, wrap tape, put it on the front of your head, wrap it around, and then bash your head against the wall. So at least that way you get the utter sweet taste of defeat as you're bashing your head against the wall. Well, Di's question was the last question of the week, and I want to talk about a couple of things as I wrap up this video. One of the first things I want to talk about in filming outside in the winter is gear. Normally, I'd be wearing a lot more on my head. I'd be wearing a balaclava. It helps keep my face warm, and I feel so much better, because right now I feel cold. I've got snow ski pants on, I got a really warm jacket, I got a warm hat on, warm gloves, but I'm not moving around and my toes are starting to freeze up, so that's a problem. But the problem is in temperatures like this, if you don't have your fingers free, you can't properly operate cameras or gimbals or anything else. And even just having your fingers exposed for a minute can start to set in frostbite. So I highly recommend mittens like these. You see that? All you do is they're mittens like this, and these are better than the individual fingers because your fingers can stay warm a whole lot quicker. And even if I've been fiddling with the camera for a few minutes, as soon as I put my hands back inside here, they're warm and toasty. So I highly recommend these types of gloves if you're doing any sort of filming outside. All right, the next thing I want to talk to you about is why am I filming outside? And it's not because it's fun. It is in the summer. In winter, this is pretty tough. My feet are really, really cold right now. I'm not enjoying this. I can echo Chris and Jordan and what they were saying when they were filming out doing ice fishing. I don't even like ice fishing, Chris said. I don't like it. Or was it Jordan? I can't remember. But the reason I'm doing it is I've had a lot of discussions in the past about the metering on the R5, about using different tools. And this time around, I'm using different tools. And the purpose of this video is to give me B-roll for a future video that I'm doing on exposure and how to properly meter for when you're filming outside, where you don't have control over lighting, where you don't have silk screens or any sort of screening and lighting to help set things up. Now I do have the Falcon eyes, and I had that out here, and I had that on me to help offset things a little bit, and guess what? It's windy, and I don't have enough proper stuff to have it anchored down, so once it fell over the first time, I decided I better not use it. I don't want to damage it. So that's why I'm filming outside. Also, I want to talk to you about merchandise. I've got some merch coming. I already showed you in one of my videos this week. I have a new Filmmaker hat. It's not identical to the one I currently have that you see on my desk all the time, so I'm still waiting to get some other samples, and I might get one today. And hopefully, very shortly, I will have some merchandise for you guys to be able to try out. Also, I'm working with a company. I'm not going to give out their name yet. I'm going to keep everything hush-hush until we're ready to announce things. But I'm working on a company for a better notification system, a better engagement system. I really feel the importance of engagement on my channel. You can see how often I respond to comments, and that I feel very important about building a community. As you see from McKay's comment, I don't mind critical comments. I don't mind it at all. I like it. It's fair, and it gave me a chance to sort of sit back and go like, you know what, he's right. I didn't properly answer that question. And when you hold back information, you're not being truthful. But when people are rude or just say things such as, this channel's no good, you're not going to get anywhere with a talking head, and they're not providing any critique, they're just being mean, you know what, that's gone. I want to create an environment here for you where you come in and if you're afraid of asking a stupid question, don't. Ask a question, and you're not going to be afraid of people treating you in a rude way. You're going to get answers to questions. And I think that is one of the best things I can give back to you as a community, a place where you can come, you can ask questions, and you can get answers. And this whole AMA video where you can ask me anything is an opportunity for you to get answers where you can't get answers anywhere else. Now, because I'm shooting outside this week, I have cut things down to, I think, 10 or 11 questions, and there's lots more out there. The Village Mayor says, you didn't answer my question last week. I didn't. There's only so many questions I can get to, and I'm trying to pick a wide variety of questions, so it makes this a very interesting video for you. So that's where I'm going. Did you hear that? Looks like the birds are back, which is great. I do have a bird feeder right here, and since I've been filming, only a few have come out. And there's one right there. And he just left again. Awesome. I think it's now time to cue some of the bird footage I shot earlier in December with the 800mm. I really love that lens. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win one of two prize bundles. My mouth is really frozen right now. There's two Angelbird 128GB AV Pro MK2 V90 SD cards, along with an Angelbird dual SD card reader. And the second prize bundle is a Ulenzi LED light prize bundle with accent lights, underwater lights, and various flat panel lights. So I'll be awarding those two prize bundles once this channel reaches 30,000 subscribers. And based on the number of subscribers I'm getting already, I've gotten 500 since last weekend. We might be getting there by March. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm going to be offering up prize bundles every 10,000 subscribers until this channel reaches 100,000, at which point we're going to have a big celebration, and I'm going to award a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below. And on that bombshell, thanks for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Oh, I want to finish off with one more thing. Even though I announced it, some people are still asking who won the 20,000 prize bundle. Jackson Law won the prize bundle. If you look at the video right up here, it talks about the new prize bundles. Look in the comments, you can see Jackson Law commenting. I've already sent the package out to him. Sadly, I think it's going to take a while to get out there because we're having problems in this country. There's been some outbreaks in our distribution centers. So I hope it does get to him soon, and I'd love to hear his comments back on the prizes. So anyhow, thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. I do very much appreciate the time you invest in my channel, watching and also commenting and engaging. It means an awful lot. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again soon.